Michael, you joined the show for the summer.
Yeah.
And we thought right off the get-go, we'd come out of the gates and probe you about what you know, man. What you know about clubs that are still to sign players, who has money to spend, cap space, of course, legally, spots on the roster. Are there any big names that may still change clubs between now and the start of next season? The listener has come in with text messages, all sorts of things. But let's start generally. Are there any big names that may still link up with other clubs before the start of next season?
I think the biggest name at the moment, and I don't think he'll be at his current club's John Bateman. There's obviously been that innuendo around John Bateman and the West Tigers. Manly pursued him pretty hard. I think they've dropped off. But I think John Bateman's long odds to be at the Tigers next year.
Question from a Knights fan, Leo Thompson. Will he be a Knight to start next season? Leo Thompson, you stop short of saying big name, but he's an international. He's a very good player.
The most in-demand player on the open market is Leo Thompson.
Yeah.
So, as you said, he's not a huge name, but we've seen the value that props get. Props are now, the third highest paid position in the game behind fullbacks and halfbacks. When you sit down and break down across the game what the top 5 earners in each position get, props are up there. So he'll be at Newcastle in 25, right? Newcastle aren't going to entertain an early release. They've put a massive offer in to keep him. The Bulldogs have gone hard for him as well. And I think the Smokies, Canberra.
Yeah.
So he played football in Canberra before he was at the Knights. I think you'll find the Raiders are in with a genuine hope of landing Leo Thompson.
We'll jump all around the place. Text in New South Wales. What is the current betting on who will be the New South Wales men's Origin coach? Can you give us an order of contenders? I did see over the weekend only 3 names, but is there more than 3?
Well, the David Riccio had in the weekend's paper that looks like Laurie Daly's the favourite. To reclaim that job that he had a few years ago. Obviously, since then, they've had Brad Fittler and Michael Maguire. So it looks like, and that was the early word, that there's a strong push for Laurie to step back into the role. A few other names that have been linked to the job are Michael Ennis and Matt King. But, according to Dave Riccio, it looks like it might be a return to Laurie Daly.
So Daly, Matt King, Michael Ennis was the other name.
Yeah.
Does that mean Trent Barrett isn't in the mix? And other names have been, Paul McGregor was another one that had been mentioned.
There's a few that have been banding around, the Ben Hornbys and Dean Youngs and those sort of guys as well. But I think they're probably the top candidates at the moment. And, it looks like it'll be Laurie.
Next one, Shire Bob. Hi, Michael. Are the Dragons still after a big bopper player?
Desperate for one. Desperate for a middle, but I don't have any news for you there, Shire Bob. I don't think they're going to add. They've got the Dragons have a fair bit of money left, despite signing Gutherson, Cook, Holmes. They've got that space there and cash available for a good middle if one came on the market, but they're just not there. Fanoi Pole was an interesting one, right? He re-signed with the West Tigers. And he was another guy who's not a marquee player in terms of, household names, but he was a guy that was in demand from a host of clubs as well. So the Tigers did really well to re-sign him.
Okay, Martin says, good morning, team. Welcome back, Michael. Dragons goss, please. Any other goss around the Dragons? Now that Lachlan Ilias is there, so Flanagan, you've got Val Holmes coming in, you've got Clint Gutherson, you've got Damien Cook coming in. It's pretty good recruitment. You'd have to think the players they've signed make them better.
Definitely
make the club better on and off the field, I believe. On and off the field.
No doubt about that, because what they needed is, you looked at that roster over the last couple of years, and aside from Ben Hunt, there's just no leaders. There's no one with experience there in that squad whatsoever. So, I think that's a key signing key signings for the Dragons. And as everyone keeps alluding to, the missing piece is a middle, and that's what they're desperately looking for now.
This one, MC, this is a wrap for you. Nice to have you in my eardrums on a Monday morning, MC. That comes from 463. Michael Carayannis was named after Michael Beattie, says Mark. The former Dragons centre. You got Michael out of that, is that right?
Not quite.
Okay, Pedro, let's change clubs. Pedro wants to know, Roosters, what's the goss, MC? Now, the Roosters must have money to spend.
Yep, they do.
Are they... okay, is there any chance they play under the cap? I'm not saying that facetiously, by the way. Is there any chance they play under the cap?
Well,
they play next season without having spent the cap?
They went in hard for Ben Hunt, right? And they thought they were a chance of signing Ben Hunt. They were quite disappointed when they missed out on him. But now all the noise around the Roosters is around Reece Robson. Reece Robson would be for 2026. Brandon Smith, who's coming back from an ACL, is long odds to be at the club. I think you'll find beyond next season, if he could find the club for 25, which is obviously hard because he's going to miss half the season with that ACL. But I think they wouldn't stand in his way if he wanted to go now. And I think the player that they're looking for in 2026 is Reece Robson from the Cowboys.
Change back to the Raiders, or to the Raiders, is Emre Guler on the market, their front rower, who's part of the 17 more often than not. Heard he's back in Sydney, Emre Guler. He was I think you're pretty sure he was a mascot Jets junior, Emre Guler. So there's a middle who has played a lot of first grade without, you'd like to think his best is still ahead of him.
Yeah, it's been interesting at the Raiders because Corey Horsburgh and Emre Guler sort of been on the open market unofficially for the past 6 months or so. They smoked the peace pipe with Corey Horsburgh, and now Emre is a guy that has been sort of mentioned in and around the traps at the Dragons. He's definitely, he's met with the Bulldogs, had discussions with the Bulldogs as well. So he's a guy that has been on the radar of a few Sydney clubs.
The probe of Michael Carayannis, co-host of The Breakfast Show, and of course, almost number one at the Daily Telegraph these days, certainly in a dead heat with Riccio. What have you heard about Ponga leaving Newcastle is the question on the text. Anything? Nothing. Okay.
That's obviously those there's been that innuendo around Kalen Ponga, but no, I've heard nothing of the sort.
Okay. Morning, gents. Any rumours on the Raiders signing a hooker? That's from Arnold of Port Macquarie.
They were talking to an English hooker whose name escapes me at the moment.
At Warrington Walker, yeah. Off the table.
So don't...
Now, on the same note, a Parramatta fan, are Parramatta still in the market for a hooker?
Well, the hooker that they've been linked to is Jaden Brayley. I think that's still on the cards. They've obviously signed Josh Adokar recently, but once that progresses potentially into the start of next year, that's because it's a salary cap thing, right? If Newcastle pay him 3 months, then that helps with Parramatta's salary cap situation. Parramatta have definitely had conversations around Jaden Brayley.
This one from 866. Vossy, you are sitting next to a ladies' man from back in the day, the Greek Adonis. Was that ever your nickname, Greek Adonis? No. Or self-acclaimed Greek Adonis?
No, never.
All right, move on from that.
Never.
This one, this is Frank, MC Frank. I'm a Sharks fan.
Yeah.
He says, I'm worried that Adam Fanua-Blake is going to be an absolute bomb, waste of money. He looks lazy, he looks half-interested. I just don't think that he's the answer for Cronulla. Now, I beg to differ on some of what I saw for Tonga to finish the season. I don't think he's an absolute living certainty of being a 10 out of 10, but you'd like to think on his best form he makes Cronulla better.
He's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, okay.
I think that if my criticism of Cronulla's forward pack over the past couple of years is that they've been same. This guy is dynamic, Frank. I don't think I'd be excited to have him there, and I think what he's going to do, I think he's going to open up Blake Brayley. Because he's going to have the ability to offload late, footwork, quick play the balls, all those sort of things, which makes Adam Fanua-Blake such a spark. And Blake Brayley is such a great run-in hooker. And I think this is going to afford him the opportunity to play off the front foot, which he hasn't done of late. I think he's going to be a crucial signing for Cronulla. Okay,
this is Michael Carayannis probe from Dragon for Life. Any news on the Dragons liking King Tonga? If he is staying or wanting to leave the Dragons, the young 5'8", who just got a taste of first grade late in the season?
No issue there. I think he had a taste of first grade, but he's still a little bit of time away from playing consistent first grade. Lockie Ilias is only on a 2-year contract. Kyle Flanagan's off contract as well. So I don't think there's going to be an issue there in terms of his pathway. That pathway is still there available for him.
Vossy and MC, this is from Maggot Bag in Hay, wanting to know about David Riccio and his love of goats. Any idea where that comes from? Photos of him and goats? I don't understand that one. Kiwi Chris says, can you tell me, will the Warriors sign anybody else? And have they got any room financially? You're across the roster of the Warriors. I mean, James Fisher-Harris may well be, and there's some great signings for clubs this off-season, like seriously, great signings. Captains from clubs, and Fisher-Harris is one of them. Has led Penrith in the past. He could turn out to be the number one signing. So you've got to get excited about that. But anything else doing?
No, I think the concern around the Warriors is obviously the Sean Johnson replacement, what they do there. They've got a lot of bodies. I'm a big fan of Luke Metcalf. I think he's an outstanding, and the way the game is played at the moment, that running half is such a dangerous threat. So, no, I think the Warriors will be okay.
The surfing night ties in the wanting to know more about Leo Thompson, who you mentioned, but Gus, is he still trying on a Chinese meal to lure him to the Dogs? How many more Chinese meals are on the cards for Gus in this off season?
Well, it's been disappointing. We haven't had a photo of Gus meeting with anyone
That's
lately.
True, nothing. What's going on?
What's he done? Has he gone in house? That's very disappointing.
Well, he's getting takeaway.
He's getting takeaway. Yes.
Uber Eats. We need to find out the Uber Eats. If that lobs, then there's someone inside bound and gagged, like you did with Ben Hunt that time.
He was being held ransom. Don't worry. But there was it's funny to think of all the photos that we did get of Gus with Kikau and Reid Marnie and all these sort of guys. It was endless.
MC, what's happening down in Melbourne with a fullback spot? Too many good players. Another one come through. We can't keep them all. Time to move on, Pappy. But Ryan Pappenhausen, they kept.
They've kept on that short-term deal. Obviously, the Dogs went in hard for Ryan Pappenhausen. That was a choice in the end between the Dogs or the Storm. But he inked a short extension with Melbourne, and I think that sort of works for both parties because if he can play 20-plus games over the next couple of years, he'll get more than $1 million that he wants. And obviously, it gets to look at Farlongo's development a little bit further.
Couple more. The probing of Michael Carayannis Rugby League rumours. This one, hey fellas, South lost Cheekham, Cook, Burgess, Ilias amongst others, but have not landed a decent signing this off-season. Any rumours around South picking up a middle or a hooker? It has to be said, they did sign... They have signed the Englishman, the halfback. Whether Lewis Dodd becomes a success is another thing, but is Wayne active?
They're looking for a forward. Yeah, one player is Matt Lodge, who's been linked there. But they're definitely looking for an experienced player to lead that forward pack, to help lead that forward pack. I don't think hooker's part of their makeup at the moment with Mamazelis there and Jamie Humphries that they signed from Manly. He'll play a little bit of hooker as well.
Mike said he just woke up. He thought he heard the snap of the rubber glove when we said the pro. It's figuratively speaking, okay? All right. I ain't going there, bro. I ain't going there. Are the Rabbits? Is Stags a chance to go there? I haven't heard any of that, but 248 wants to know. Would Stags not on their radar?
I don't think so. I think Stags will stay in Brisbane.
All righty. We did ask earlier, just repeat the news on expansion. Your mail is PNG will be finally absolutely done before Christmas, but not as the next team to come in.
Not as the next team. So PNG will be done once the Prime Ministers can work out their schedule. There'll be an announcement in Sydney. My gut is in the next fortnight to formally sign off on PNG becoming what the NRL will be the 19th team in 2028, with the hopes that the Western Bears, that Perth franchise, will be up and running by 27.
All right, that's all the rugby league news for the moment. In terms of probing, Michael, you can sit back down now and pull your pants back up. No, you're right. But if you have any questions, Michael's here for the long run over the summer, so text them in 0457 736 736. There's no doubt rugby league is flying at the moment. One story we didn't get to late last week, the announcement that the New South Wales Rugby League signed this long-term deal, very lucrative deal with Adidas. Do you say Adidas or Adidas?
Adidas.
You say Adidas. I say Adidas. We'll have to work that out. Take a vote. Gibbo? Adidas?
Adidas.
Adidas. Charlie? Adidas. Okay, Adidas it is. Adidas. 5-year deal. Now, we had David Trodden on the show, the boss of the New South Wales Rugby League. I think we're going to dip our lid to them because they had to go. It wasn't done here. They had to go to Germany. And another person who has done great things at the New South Wales Rugby League is their chief commercial officer, Jody Cross. As I understand it, Jody Cross went over to Germany, got the Adidas people in the room and sold rugby league to them, sold the Blues, we are the champions, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Mate, it's a big deal
big
because
name.
when you talk about the clubs in the world that are aligned with Adidas, I mean, this is the sort of news you shout from the rooftops. To Jody Cross, to David Trodden, well done. This is a terrific sponsorship. 5 years. I mean, Real Madrid, Manchester United, they're a couple, aren't they, with Adidas? What a texter, listener, tell us, 0457 736 736. Who else is with Adidas? Gibbo, you've got one?
All Blacks.
The All Blacks, are they?
The All Blacks.
Has that been fact-checked?
Fact check. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, at least they were. At least they were
Well,
within a
no,
one time.
now.
Yeah.
You think they ditched the All Blacks and gone the Blues?
No, they're at us.
Well, that's pretty good.
Iconic.
That's
Come
good
on, guys,
company.
don't.
All Blacks, thumbs up. Fact check by Charlie. Real Madrid, Man United, not going so good, but one of the most famous clubs in the world, and the New South Wales Blues. So I'm saying give credit where it's due, because we fire shots at officials and that sort of people wouldn't know. People like Jody Cross who must have put massive hours into that deal. So well done, the Chief Commercial Officer, to David Trodden and the Blues. That's a great sponsorship. 5 years locked up with Adidas or Adidas, whichever way you like. In a moment, a tribute to the Fat and your texts and calls.